Hi there Booktube, it's Eleanor here, and today I'm doing my weekly wrap up of what I've read and what I'm planning to read next week. But first I'm going to be continuing with my Booktuber recommends. I'm going to recommend to you this week Lisa Rhiannon. Her channel, which is linked below, is just really brilliant. I've been watching a lot more of her recently. She's a UK booktuber and she's got a really interesting taste. What I love the most about her is I just really enjoy her reviews. I really think that she reviews books really well. She gives you everything you need to know. She does a great synopsis. She gives you plenty of information. She tells you why she does and doesn't like things. And I just really like her taste in books, and it always gives me some ideas of things to get. So I wanted to recommend her this week. As always, she'll be on my playlist as well, as being linked below. So definitely go and check her out. So I want to now move on to the books that I've read this week. The first book I'd nearly finished last week but I hadn't quite finished, and that was The Finding by Emmy Walker. Full disclosure, I was sent this by the author herself, and I loved it. I mean, this hasn't affected my opinion in any way. You know, any books that I review or get sent, if I don't like them, I'm going to tell you. But I really did enjoy this book. So I really enjoyed the idea. This book is sort of a quest. The girl goes on a sort of quest to get her powers. It's about growing up in sort of the human normal world and then finding out that there's a magical world that exists and that she is the heir to the throne. She has to sort of save her world, but she has to go and do this quest first. And I just really enjoyed the characters and all the different magical beings. I was a little bit angry at Emmy Walker because she finished this book and it was sort of like, to know what's going to happen next, but thankfully the second one is out and you're able to download it on Kindle, so I have done that and I shall be reading that as soon as I can. But yeah, if you want a bigger, better synopsis on this book, I gave it in my last week's Friday reads, so go and check that out. But I really enjoyed this and I gave it 4 stars. The next book I read was a NetGalley arc, so again, this won't affect my review in any way, and that was Seed by Heather Mayfield. Now, this book I'd heard about, I think, from Lucy the Reader's channel, but I already had it, but I'd heard she'd read it recently and said how good it was, and I just really like the premise for this. It's a YA contemporary book, but it's set in a cult, which isn't something that I've read too much about before, but I really enjoyed it. I felt the tension and the build-up, and it follows a girl within the cult and just sort of her disillusionment and discovering the realities. She's always lived in the cult. She doesn't know anything about the outside world until a family join the cult who've obviously been in the outside world with a boy about the same age as her, and she discovers more and more, and some of the things perhaps she's been told are lies, and there's a culmination with a big event at the end, and I really enjoyed this. It was gripping and exciting, and I definitely recommend if you like a YA contemporary book, this one is something a little bit different and very good, and I gave it 4 stars. In the evening, I have been in bed. I've been trying to put short story books by my bed and read sort of a short story in an evening, and that's really worked, and I've been enjoying that. So the first book that I read was A Pair of Silk Stockings by Kate Chopin, or Chopin, I'm not sure, and I've really enjoyed these. They are, it says they were sort of set in Louisiana Bayou. I enjoyed a couple of these, and then a couple I didn't enjoy so much. I'm still not 100% sure that short stories are for me, but I'm going to keep trying. I've got a few more collections to go, but yeah. I don't know, I just don't know if I get into the story enough for me to enjoy it enough. I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, I know they're really clever because they fit such a, you know, such a big feeling and thought into sort of a small story, but I don't know, I just like my characters to just develop over time, and yeah, I don't know. So I'm not 100% sure, but I did enjoy it, and so I gave this 3 stars. And then the final book that I finished this week is a book I'm not really meant to talk too much about, so I'm not going to go into great detail. I was lucky to receive this as an ARC through lovereading.co.uk. They do a reader review programme that I signed up for, and occasionally I'm lucky enough to get sent books, and the book I was sent was 7 Eves by Neil Stevenson. It is a whopper of a book. I showed you it when I received it. It's my first Neil Stevenson book, and I enjoyed it. It was good. It's a science fiction story. It's quite heavy on the technology. It's the basic premise is what would happen if something happened to the moon and it was splintered into lots of pieces, and we knew that the end of the world was coming within 2 years. How would we prepare? How would we get people into space? The logistics, all the technology behind it that would need to come about. How would we sustain life in space? And then it fast forwards towards the end of the book, sort of years, 5,000 years or so later, and to what happens when people are trying to sort of resettle back on Earth. And I enjoyed it, but for me, I just think there was just too much technology and too much scientific stuff for me to really fully enjoy it. And I think that's just because that sort of book perhaps isn't for me. Maybe it's just too heavy on the science fiction, but I think if you like his books and you're a science fiction lover, no doubt you will absolutely adore it. And as a non-science fiction aficionado and someone that's quite new to it, and this being quite a big book and quite heavy on the technology, I still enjoyed it enough to give it 3 stars. And then finally this week I've started but haven't finished the Booktube Reading Buddies book of the month, which is Station 11 by Emily St John Mandel. I'm really interested to read this one now. I mean, I wanted to read it anyway, but I've been hearing mixed views on the Booktube Reading Buddies forum for this. Some people either really don't like it and some people really love it, and I'm not sure where I'm going to fall in that camp. So far I've read a couple of 100 pages, and I'm definitely it's definitely an easy reading story and intriguing me so far, so we shall see how I get on with this, and I'll let you know next week. And then the books that I'm looking to read this week, because of that whopper of a book, Seven Eves, I postponed my buddy read with the lovely Michelle from Northern Enthusiast. So we're going to be reading Lock In by John Scalzi starting later in the week next week, I think around the 22nd. So I'm looking forward to that. Starting on Saturday, I'm going to be starting my buddy read of Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie with Stephanie from Time to Read, and I'm loving, looking forward to this one. So I'm going to get Station 11 finished, then I'm going to start this one, and then I should have this one finished in time to start my lock-in. So if I manage to get all of those finished, then I've got a couple of other books that I want to get finished. I want to read my Booktuber Recommends book, Fortune's Pawn by Rachel Back, so that will be on the pile of to pick from. I want to read The Ark of Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir at some point, so hopefully I will get to that. And I want to pick the book that Sam from Colty and Crumbs picked out of my 3 books for the month, and that is The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson. So they're all sort of on my pile of, oh, you can pick from these, but the ones that I'm definitely going to be finishing are Station 11 and my 2 buddy reads. So that's what I've read, what I'm reading next week. My Booktuber Shoutout, Lisa Rhiannon, definitely check her out. I think you'll like her if you like me, and she's just really good, and I like her. I go to her for reviews. She always wraps up her books really well, so check her out. And I look forward to speaking to you soon. What have you been reading? Have you read any of these? Let me know your thoughts as always, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, Booktube.